Hello and welcome back to the Foster Files. My name is Kelly. I'm your host, and I'm a foster along with my husband with Across Your Paws Rescue in the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania. In our last episode, I introduced us, our mission, and how we got to fostering, and I talked a lot about the story of our current foster dog, Max. Well, Max is doing really well, training is going really well, and we look forward to continuing to see how it goes. Today, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. Whenever Michael and I tell people that we foster dogs, the number one thing that people say, without fail, I've literally never spoken to anyone that hasn't said this, is I could never do that because I can't give them up. I would adopt them all. I could never be able to say goodbye. And that is so fair. I completely understand why people feel that way. Because oftentimes when we're talking to people about fostering, we're talking to other animal lovers. I mean, those are the people that are in our lives. So I get it. This idea that you welcome this animal, this dog, cat, whatever, into your home to love it and care for it, maybe even nurse it back to health, rehab it, see how its behavior develops and grows, just to give it away to somebody else, kind of seems counterintuitive, right? So I want to talk today to those people that might be feeling that way, that might be considering fostering, and that are seeing this thought process as an obstacle, as maybe the reason that they don't think that they can do it. And so I'm going to talk about my experience and our experience and how we have been working through that. As I mentioned in the previous episode, we've been fostering since October of 2023, and we are currently on our 19th foster. How did we get to the point where we were comfortable giving these dogs up? And I see a lot of other foster influencers and rescue influencers talk about this on social media. I'd love to hear feedback from any of them about their approach. You remember you can follow us at the Foster Files podcast on Instagram. And I did set up that Gmail account. And so now you can email me at the Foster Files podcast at Gmail. So how do we approach fostering? So I'm a very type A person. You'll get to know me over the course of this project. And much of my capability to tackle different things comes from being mentally prepared for them. I don't necessarily think that's unique to me at all, but it's just how I approach things. And so whenever we welcome a new foster into the home, or whenever we're considering welcoming a new foster into the home, one of the very first things that I kind of think about and the way that I approach it is, this is not our dog. This is a dog that needs our help. This is a dog that we are going to love and take care of and do our best to bring out this dog's real personality and showcase this dog's real personality on social media as much as we can. But this isn't our dog. And I think that for me, embracing that mentality in the beginning allows us to love the dog and care for the dog, but not get so attached to the dog that we're incapable of adopting that dog out. Now, let's be real. We talked about our foster fail last week, Cheese. So there are some dogs and some animals that just weasel their way into your heart and into your soul, and you can't give them up. And I get that. And I've experienced that. I mean, Cheese is sleeping on the couch right now, and we just, at this point, we can't imagine our lives without her. But ultimately, you can't adopt them all. And so why can't we? Why don't we adopt them all? The simple and obvious answer is that if we adopt the first one, the second one, the third one, our capacity to continue to foster is going to go away. One of the things that I'm going to talk about a lot through this podcast platform is that a lot of the decision making that Michael and I do is really intentional around fostering. We want to try to make this as successful an experience as we possibly can. I have seen situations where fosters say yes too much, and they end up with numerous dogs in a household where they can't appropriately take care of them. And again, that's not coming from a place of criticism. The reason that they do that is because the need is so great. I cannot emphasize enough how, now that I'm in this world of fostering and rescuing, really in it, how I see multiple times a day a stray dog that has been found and needs a place to go, or people who are rehoming their dogs for whatever reason. And we're going to talk about rehoming in another episode, but reasoning behind it aside, this dog now needs somewhere to go and needs somewhere to be. We see a lot about shelters that are overcrowded, are desperate for adopters and fosters, are forced to euthanize. I mean, I need to look up the real statistics behind this, but tens of thousands of dogs are euthanized every year. Healthy, wonderful dogs. So the people who say yes too much are doing it oftentimes from a place of love. And like many things that we don't set healthy boundaries for, it can get out of hand. So I mentioned previously that at our most, Michael and I had 5 dogs. And even in the time that we had those 5 dogs and we loved them and we just couldn't imagine our lives without them. I mean, we named our Wi-Fi after having 5 dogs. I knew early on in that experience that I wasn't going to be comfortable having that many dogs again. And they all got along. I mean, we didn't really have issues with them interacting with each other. I mean, each dog has its own behavioral things independently, regardless of how many dogs you have. But it wasn't about that. It was about the finances of it. It's a lot of dogs to feed. That's a lot of dogs to take care of and go to the vet and do preventative care or do emergency care or senior care as they get older. It's a lot of food, especially if you want to feed them really quality food. Ultimately, you are going to pay a little more money for it. Shout out to Chewy.com. They are the best for a million reasons. But it just was that thing where your life is restricted in a way that you have to really be able to embrace in order to do it right. You're not going to go on a vacation on a whim. You have to plan ahead. And you have to plan ahead with one dog. But anybody that's had more than one dog will tell you that the more dogs you add to your roster, the more you have to plan ahead. So having 5 dogs was just kind of that number where I was like, I don't think we're going to ever meet this number again, let alone exceed it. So I mentioned that we lost 2 of them in 2022. We lost Wilson and Shane that year. 2023, we had Little Girl, Denver, and Snowball. And then we ended up adopting Cheese. Unfortunately, we lost Little Girl in early 2024, and then we lost Denver this year. So we're down to 2 dogs. And I also have mentioned before that I like to have one foster at a time. I think that it really gives us an opportunity to focus on that dog, focus on the way that that dog is interacting with our dogs, make sure that we're providing the best situation we possibly can with walking them, exercising them, maybe training them. What does that look like? Feeding, because obviously fosters and rescues can have some resource guarding issues depending on their background. So 3 is kind of the sweet spot right now. And especially 2, if I can go back just for a second, Snowy is a senior. He is 14 and a half years old and he is a Shih Tzu. So he's not very big and he has degenerative disc disease. And so when you have a dog like Max, who's huge and energetic, and then you have a dog like Cheese, who's very happy to match his energy, which is such a blessing for the 2 of them. But with Snowy, he can absolutely get caught in that crossfire and sort of just get run over and just be in the way in a way that's not super safe for him. So again, backing up, while we have Snowy especially, having additional dogs on top of that is not going to make sense. So I kind of went on that long tangent to really explain that how many dogs you have in your household matters, and making sure that you can appropriately manage that matters. So if I have, two dogs and I'm comfortable having these two dogs and I'm comfortable welcoming in a third foster from time to time, if I adopt that other foster, that is going to completely change. Now that I have three dogs, that's going to completely change how I might approach bringing in another foster, right? Okay, now we have four dogs. And it might be temporary, but we don't know how long this dog's going to be with us. We don't know what kind of baggage this dog is going to bring with it. We just don't know. And so the whole dynamic of the household changes. So when we go into fostering, we very much are like, if we're thinking about adopting this dog, can we do that? Can our household accept that additional capacity? And then will we continue to be able to foster after we accept that additional capacity? So that's kind of the approach that we take. But that being said, of course, we get attached to these dogs. I have cried tears over these dogs coming and going. I sometimes worry about them in their new home, especially if they're a dog with some quirks and some personality things. How's it going? I check in with the adopters right after the adoption happens. I'll check in typically that day, the next day, and for a couple days just to say, how's it going? How's this dog sleeping? How's feeding going? Whatever maybe some of the obstacles were that we felt when the dog was in our household. I'll really talk to the adopter about how is that particular situation going? How's the dog interacting with your dog? How's the dog interacting with the kids? Is the dog going potty in the house? Because the dog might have been fully potty trained and housebroken at our house, but that can change when they go into their new environment. So we absolutely get attached to these dogs. We kind of have a little bit of a funny story. Right before Denver died, I think this was after we had Max the first time. The rescue got in this gorgeous, big, beautiful English hound. I think we're calling him an English hound for most of these dogs. We never really know. But his name when he was with the rescue was Sadler. And he was with a different foster. And it just wasn't working out with that foster for a number of different reasons that I won't get into. But they said, can somebody else take him? He is really sweet. He's great with the other dogs. He is marking in the house. He wasn't neutered yet, but he's such a big boy and we're just not the right fit for him as a foster. So Michael and I stepped up. I saw his face and the hound eyes draw is a real thing. And I was like, yeah, we gotta pick up this boy. So we brought him into our household and my husband, Michael, he fell in love. He fell in big love with that dog. And he really is probably the most beautiful dog I've ever seen in real life. He's a gorgeous dog, really sweet, got along well with Cheese, ignored the other two, Denver and Snowy. But at that time, we had three dogs already, Denver, Snowball, and Cheese. And I just pretty much said, no, four is not where it's at. I don't want to have four because then again, if we accept another foster in, we're back up to five. And that's a lot and that's intense. And I am not down for that right now. And despite his heart, Michael agreed. So we adopted him out to this awesome adopter. He's doing so well. It's super clear how much he loves Sadler. Michael was upset. I mean, we joke about it now, but about how like me adopting him out would have been the straw that broke the camel's back for divorce. But I mean, obviously that's a joke, but he told me just the other day he still thinks about him and he really loved him and missed him. And I told him, I said, if for any reason he ever comes back, he'll never leave again. But of course we get attached. Of course we love these dogs. And we really do approach the situation where we love them like they are ours for the time that they're here. Most of these dogs are coming from crappy situations. Some of them are really hard to even talk about. And so I really focus on loving them, making them feel safe, making them feel comfortable. And yes, I know that there is going to be an adjustment period when they get into their adopter's home where they're not comfortable. But this work that we do is not about not overcoming challenges, right? I know that was a double negative, but you're going to have situations where you know that they're going to go into a different home and maybe their sleeping situation is different, or their food or their interaction with other dogs is different, or their family is different. And you just have to love them while they're here, keep them safe while they're here, and hold them into your heart as much as you can. And then understand that when they get into their adopter's home, that they're going to have an adjustment period. In one of the future episodes that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the 3-3-3 rule in a little more depth. But for those of you that don't know, the 3-3-3 rule is really important in bringing a new dog into your home. And you need to give them time. You need to give them 3 days to decompress, 3 weeks to learn your routine, and 3 months to really feel at home. Unfortunately, a lot of dogs are returned to rescue before that 3-month time. And so it can just feel like the adopters didn't give that dog a chance. Because think about it. If you are completely upended from your home through your choice or not, it takes time to adjust. I know a lot of friends and family that have moved and been like, it took months for me for my new home to feel like home. So imagine how that is for a dog that can't communicate with you in the same way. So we know that when they go into their new home, that there's going to be an adjustment period, that things are going to be different from them, and the dog's not going to feel super great right off the bat. I mean, some dogs are just adaptable and they love it. But for the most part, there's going to be an adjustment period. And one of the things that we have to embrace as adopters is we have to accept that adopters are going to do things differently. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, I am super type A. Any of my loved ones that are listening to this right now are fully laughing because that is an understatement when describing my personality. But I do struggle with accepting that people do things differently than I do. And we grow attached to these dogs and we want things to go really well for them. So we want them to do things the way we're going to do things. But you just have to accept they're going to do things different. And so you got to prepare them as best you can, give them your advice, let them know you're there, but they're going to do things different. It's just like how everybody raises their kids different. About how if you drop off your kid at their aunt or uncle's house or their grandparents' house, that they're not going to treat the kid exactly the same way and deal with the kid exactly the same way that you do. So we have to accept that. One of the very cool things about fostering in the age that we're fostering in is that it's really easy to keep in touch. It's really easy to check in. So obviously some adopters have social media. I can follow the dogs on social media when they post them. But for all of them, it's really just about exchanging cell phone numbers. Some adopters are really cool about reaching out periodically, no matter what. Hey, here's a picture of the dog. Here's what we did this weekend. And then some I just reach out to because I don't hear anything for a while. And I might be just thinking about the dog or looking at a picture of the dog. And I might just text them and say, hey, how's Sadler doing? Or how's Rebel doing? And I usually get a picture or a video back. And I get a pretty quick response because let's be real, everybody likes talking about their dogs. And so it's a really cool thing that in this day and age, you have that opportunity. I also can't believe I just said in this day and age, like I'm 150 years old. Anyway, you have the opportunity to keep in touch as much or as little as you want to. So it's really cool. For all of our dogs that we've had up until this point, we have said we would be happy to dog sit. So there have been instances in which we've dog sat for our previous fosters. So we bring them back into the house. We get to see them again. We get to hang out with them again. I have one foster dog that got adopted out last year. No, late 2023, excuse me. But his name is Felix, and he's a hilarious, quirky, little black and white mutt thing. I'll tell Felix's story in a future episode when we talk about dogs that go missing, and there's a little teaser for you because that happened. But he is such a cool little dog, and he doesn't live far from us. So we do get to see him every once in a while. His mom and dad brought him by my office to say hi, and all the girls on my team were super excited to see him. So my point is that when you are fostering dogs, you really have to kind of put your own heartbreak aside, and you really have to say, why do I want to do this? Do I want to help as many dogs as I possibly can? Do I want to try to alleviate this completely overwhelmed system in what super tiny way that I possibly can? And then, is it going to be good for me to see how they're doing with their new family? Or am I just going to, feel sad that they're not with me? But ultimately, I need to understand that I'm just a transitory place for them. I am just their home for now until they find their forever home. And then you can watch them grow and flourish in their new home. And then you get to open up your home to another dog in need. And that's the reward of it all. That's the benefit. And it is wonderful, and it is rewarding, and it is sad to see them go. It is so sad to see them go sometimes. But that if they're going off into a great home, if you are considering fostering, I'm going to encourage you to foster with a rescue that gives the fosters a lot of autonomy over the adoption process. Early on in fostering with Cross Your Paws, I learned that Cross Your Paws really accepts what the foster parent says about the adoption situation as kind of the final opinion of it. So if there is a meet and greet that happens and the foster just does not think it's the right fit, Cross Your Paws is going to fully back what the foster says. And what somebody said to me early in the process of fostering was, you know the dog the best, so we're going to go with your gut. So even before I was on the app team and before I was actually running applications, I was just getting approved adopters. It was great because you're the one that knows the dog the best. You can see the dog's body language and you can say, I think this is a good situation. This is not a great situation. So if you are considering fostering and you are worried about that feeling of, is this dog going to go into the right situation? I would encourage you to find a rescue that supports its fosters in that same way. And Cross Your Paws is a great one for that. But there are so many out there. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I really wanted to kind of help people think about why fostering is so rewarding and how they can do it and how they can really get past that idea of, I could never give them up, because giving them up is such a wonderful sacrifice that you're doing for them and for the other dogs that need help. So today in our foster highlight, I am going to talk about another dog that is currently with Your Paws. And this dog's name is Cooper. Now, I have not personally met Cooper, and that's going to be the case with most of these dogs. There's just too many of them. But Cooper has an awesome bio on the Cross Your Paws website. And I'm looking at his picture now. If you go to crossyourpaws.com, you'll want to make sure that you're finding a rescue in Irwin, Pennsylvania. Should be pretty easy to find. But when you look at Cooper, he is really a beautiful boy. He looks like he might be a German Shepherd mix. He's mostly caramel color. He's got one pointy ear, one floppy ear, which is always hilarious. So I'm just going to read his bio, and maybe Cooper will be the one for you. Hi, everyone. I'm Cooper. I'm a little over a year, neutered male, German Shepherd mix. I'm a big old puppy looking for a family and a playmate. My foster mom loves my wonky ears. One is up and one is flopped. I am playful, loyal, and eager to please. I would benefit having a canine companion to romp around with. I can be selective with dogs, so slow introductions are best. However, I am not a fan of cats and would do best in a cat-free home. I am smart and eager to learn, making me a great candidate for training. I would thrive with an active family, no young children, or person who can give me plenty of exercise, mental stimulation, and most importantly, love. While not all dogs require a fence, I do. A 6'1" actually. Or to be taken out on a leash until settled. I can jump a regular sized fence and I'm a decent climber, so we just want to be careful until I learn my boundaries. Oh, geez. Please don't let that discourage you, though. I'm so smart and I'm doing so well learning commands. I already know sit, lay, and come, easy peasy. And I'm eager to learn more and grow up to be the bestest boy. If you're interested in adopting me, please apply at crossyourpaws.com. So go look up Cooper. You can find him, like I said, at crossyourpaws.com. I'm also going to post his picture on our Instagram page. I'll reach out to the foster and see if I can maybe get some videos of Cooper shining, his personality shining through. And just as a reminder, if you want to follow our social media, you can go to the Foster Files podcast on Instagram, and you can email me at thefosterfilespodcast@gmail.com if you want to send me some feedback, have a great story to tell, or have any questions. So thank you so much for listening to the Foster Files, and have a wonderful day.